and welcome back to another episode of IgG4-RD Life. We are your co-hosts, Alex and Mahsa, and we are patients and advocates of IgG4-RD. And for those tuning in for the first time, this is a one-of-its-kind platform where we, the patients, will amplify IgG4-RD patient voices. We'll discuss our day-to-day lives, both our successes and struggles. We provide information, talk about research, ongoing and upcoming trials, resources, and more. And today we are excited to introduce Richard Cooley, a fellow patient of IgG4-RD. When we first saw his story, we thought it would be perfect for us to share, and it's incredibly hopeful. Mahsa, over to you.
Thank you, Alex. Yes, we know how important it is for our patient community to hear every patient's journey, because as similar as our journeys may seem, they're actually very individual and different to each other. And once we hear each other's journeys, it's the power of social listening. We learn more about our disease. There's always hope. So Richard, let's start with you. Could you please tell us a little bit about your journey and road to diagnosis and all the circumstances that surrounded your illness at the time?
Yes, of course. I was approaching my 64th birthday and working away from home when I noticed that I was becoming jaundiced and very itchy. So knowing that being jaundiced is serious, I made an appointment to see my GP, the family doctor, when I got back home. And that was on my 64th birthday. And he took one look at me and said, pack a bag and go to hospital. So that very day, I went straight into hospital and had an MRI scan, which revealed a bulge on the common bile duct. Now we know that was causing the bilirubin to back up through my system, and that's why I was jaundiced. And it also cut off the pancreas, so that caused problems as well. Putting a name on it, I suppose I was an early adopter of the condition, if you like, back in 2016. It proved to be very, very difficult, and they came up with a number of different suggestions and different names. And it wasn't actually until after I'd left hospital and read the documentation that I learned it was IgG4 related disease. But in the meantime, I had got physically very, very weak. I wasn't able to stand up unaided at one point. My weight had gone down to, I have to look up this because I've got in kilograms in here and you're in pounds, 150 pounds, which for somebody my size is, it's not viable. And I had a near-death experience and decided that I really wasn't, going to give into it. So about that time, they started to give me prednisone, and I picked up very, very, very quickly. In all, I was in hospital 13 weeks. I was released with no care papers, so I had to go back into another hospital for another week. To produce a care package of what to do afterwards. The treatment then was prednisone and enzymes for digestion, which I think isn't an English thing. They give you enzymes. You wouldn't get them here because they just wouldn't survive the journey home in the heat, but that's what they did then. And really, it was a question of going to hospital regularly to be seen, to be weighed and so on. That's where we started.
And this was all in France at the time?
No, I was in the UK. I was still working.
Okay. I'm sure, that must have been really hard and isolating, not knowing also what the disease was at first. How did it affect you mentally and spiritually? I mean, you told us a little bit about how it physically got you down. I'm sure it wasn't easy mentally either.
It was very, very difficult mentally, not knowing what you're dealing with or being able to form a plan, because obviously you don't know what you're dealing with. It was very clear that the staff in the hospital, and it was a university teaching hospital, so you think that we're up at the top of the tree here. They kept coming up, making suggestions. Do you think it could be this? As though I knew. And at one point it was liver cancer, another time it was primary sclerosing cholangitis. So you lose confidence in them, and then you start to lose hope and despair. And so spiritually, yes, I had a near-death experience where you dream of the tunnel that you go down at the end of life. So it really does call on all your resources to turn it around.
Thank you for sharing about that. I have a lot of similarities to your case as well. So what you only had prednisone for a treatment plan with the digestive enzymes, and then that took you into remission?
Yes, I went into remission as soon as I could get home, and I was still too weak to walk up the stairs with a coat on. It's hard to imagine. And I lived in a townhouse, so I had 2 flights of stairs to go to bed. Just had to work at it. I was lucky to have family to come down and help me through, because my children have grown up. They've got their own families. They can't run away. So I was quite lucky there. And it was thinking to myself, if I've worked for the family for 30 years, it's time I had a year or two to myself. And I decided to get back on the bike, and that has been my savior.
That is amazing. That's the best type of self-care that we tend to talk about. And how long ago was this? So how long have you been in remission now?
Well, I went into remission, then that would have been in 2017, early 2017. And I stayed in remission until last year, when I had moved to Spain. This is confusing for you. When I was very ill overnight, shaking, shivering, being ill. And I realised I was getting jaundiced again. So we went to the local doctor's surgery without an appointment, just turn up. And they were brilliant. They did blood tests on the spot, and they sent me straight to the hospital in Palamos, where I had a stent put in to relieve the bilirubin again, and back on the prednisone and low dose. Well, they call it Imirel. I think we call it azathioprine in the UK. And within a week, I was out of hospital and walking the dogs. And within 2 weeks, I was back on the bike again. So it's been a big part of my recovery.
I like hearing about the lifestyle changes and the self-care, that you do, because relapse is not easy, when it comes back, and you have to go through it again, and you don't know what's going to happen at this point. But I'm happy that you've kept up with the cycling, and it's really helping you. Have you done any other type of lifestyle changes to help with all of this?
Well, apart from emigrating to the Pyrenees, because you realise that there are a million trees for every car here, so the air is good, and I think that makes a big difference.
Environmental factors.
The environment makes a huge difference. I mean, life is so much more relaxed, and it's much more social. If you go to get a coffee here, it's almost as though actually paying for the thing interferes with the social business of having a coffee. It's I've got some American friends, and they shake their heads in disbelief how different everything is. Having come out of hospital, and I was back on the bike again, I came back to France, where I now live, and saw this is another word like GP, and I think you use the word primary doctor. Well, the one here is a médecin traitant, which is your treating doctor. And she's a neighbour and absolutely brilliant. Knew what IgG4 was, sent me for an MRI scan, an echocardiogram on my heart, just everything. So I now have a book of CT scans covering my entire body. We did find that there is a nodule on one lung, so we're monitoring that to see if that's going to be part of the IgG4, or if it's natural, or if it's pollution from years of driving. So we'll know about that later.
That's always one of the struggles, is when something new pops up, we always have to go back through a whole process to clarify, now, is this also related, or is this just a random thing that's occurring? And that part itself is a bit stressful too. But definitely keep an eye on that long nodule. I know that that's one of the more common things that does happen with a lot of our patients. So monitoring, right?
Thank you. That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Power of social listening. Yeah, we
Yes,
talk a lot.
yes. Yeah, I know. I've been through the podcast, and I think, oh, that from number 2, and that from number 3, and I'll mention these things, but that's not how the flow of conversation works. So, yeah, by comparison, having only one organ obviously affected, there is a possibility of skin as well, because I can have lesions if I'm out in the strong sun too much. But it's in certain places, so I just cover them with sticking plasters, and the problem doesn't appear. That's easy.
I have the same skin issues, actually. I have it down my arms, and then I have them on my thighs and down my spine, and then I have some on my chest. I recently started Dupixent treatment to see if a mixture of that with my Rituxan will help my skin issues too, because it's one of the only things that hasn't been healing with any of my treatment plans.
I see.
Does it hurt and itch too? Because that happens.
No, I've been spared. I've had no pain throughout the whole process, other than in the UK, I had a drain across inside the chest, and it didn't work. And getting that out was very painful. I can remember that. But other than that, no real pain.
Well, that's good to hear, because pain is, now you said in your story before that it's your life's mission to reassure people that there is a life after diagnosis, if you're sensible. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yes, well, living here and cycling is a bit like having all your birthdays at once. This region for cycling and for walking. I mean, it's a fabulous walking region because we're in the Pyrenees, and these are some of the best climbs. And that's what you do when you ride a bicycle. Is you go for the mountains, and it's just a dream. I mean, I'll be going down to the coast in a couple of days, see some friends. What could be better?
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Alex, I'll go ahead and turn it to you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your story. It's really nice to have stories of hope, because a lot of times we do hear people talking about all the distress they're going through, and we do try to provide comfort, but we do forget that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and that this is manageable. And you're living the dream life.
Well,
So
absolutely.
I bet you're eating really good food. Is that the Basque region that you're in?
No, well, this is Catalonia. This is Catalan region.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so I have medical records in English, Catalan, and French.
Wow. I always wondered about that, getting treated in different countries, because for me, I moved around a lot too, and I didn't know, I wasn't able to get the help that I needed because I happened to be moving all the time and just taking the records from here to there. But I feel like Europe might have a better system from country to country, as long as it's all part of Europe.
Well, the IgG4 is one of those conditions where Europe is joined up because it is so rare on a population basis that, I mean, a little place like this, I mean, I'm probably the only person for 100 kilometers with this condition. So, the doctors need the resources. So it is joined up with all of the medical resources in Europe. So you're obviously, taking from a much bigger pond. Yeah.
Right, that's good to know. We have a lot of European patients who are always looking for help too. So this is good information for them. And that's, we always like to end with a message to our patients, caregivers, and medical professionals. So in closing, what is your message to patients, to caregivers, and to medical professionals, if you have any?
Well, yeah, my message is don't give up on your dreams. Yeah,
Don't give
stop
up.
stop when you can't do it, not because somebody suggests, oh, you might not be able to. Yeah,
That is very good advice.
yeah.
And what about for our medical professionals?
The well is to, I think, based on my experience, is please listen to people's wishes, because it's so easy for them to look at statistical, you know, outcomes, and that isn't. I mean, that's statistics. That's not individuals. People can have their own dreams. They've got their own wishes, and they want to do things. So if they can, if there's nothing stopping them, encourage them.
Thank you. That is wonderful advice for everyone that's listening. Now with that, in conclusion, do you have any last thoughts, anything you want to contribute before we end our session?
Well, no, just thank you very much for the opportunity to say that.
And thank you, Richard. We look forward to speaking with you more down the line and working together. Alex and I, we love collaborating all around. But thank you. Your journey is very important. Your patient story is very important. So
thank you so much.
so much. Everybody listening, please be sure to like, follow, subscribe, and we will keep you updated with everything and anything IgG4. Thank you so much.
Thanks again. Bye now.
Bye-bye.